My name's Marie McLeod and I'm a Senior Training Associate with Hawker Brownlee Professional Learning Solutions. I deliver the work of Dr Ruby Payne, a framework for understanding poverty for schools, Bridges Out of Poverty for the social service sector and Getting Ahead. So Bridges Out of Poverty is for schools and communities that want to take a whole of community approach to addressing poverty. We cover much of the same concepts that we do in Bridges, but we look at it from the perspective of those concepts being applied at the individual, the organisational and the community level. So in Bridges we are really taking a holistic perspective. We do deliver training quite often to organisations who want all of their staff trained, and in those sessions we are often talking about tools that individual workers can use with their clients who come from poverty, but we also want the organisation as a whole to think about how it is operating and whether or not the way that the organisation is operating is based fundamentally on what works best for the organisation and the workers, or whether it's actually operating from a perspective of understanding what clients and people from poverty really need, and whether they have a mechanism to hear from those clients about what services they want to be delivered and how they want to be delivered. So it is focused around social service professionals. There's what we call the triple lens, which is individual, organisational and community level. So we go through all of those in a day one, and then in a day two we start to target our interventions and talk about what that could look like in your organisation or in your community. The absolute pinnacle for us is when we get a whole community that say they want to become a Bridges community and they want to collectively across the board implement these the concepts in Bridges Out of Poverty. For us, we've done that we've worked with communities Benalla and Morwell in Victoria. Usually that happens by one entity leading the way first and funding the initiative until the wave and the groundswell of support for this initiative sort of kicks in. When we take a whole of community approach, what we do is we deliver framework for understanding poverty for schools, Bridges for social service professionals, and we also deliver Getting Ahead, which I'll talk about in a minute. And in this way, we start to have a shared understanding amongst all of the professionals supporting people and families in poverty. We also have a steering committee when we take that kind of approach, and the steering committee, the main role there is for them to support the implementation of a plan to address poverty in that location, but also to make sure that people from all socioeconomic classes are being heard in the change that's being proposed. So that is our absolute best case scenario, is when we get the opportunity to work with whole communities like that, and it's been wonderful to see both in Morwell and Benalla how that's happening. So Bridges Out of Poverty is also sometimes used in schools that want to take a community approach, but it originates from Phil DeVol's work, and he wrote it for social service professionals.